Why doesn't everyone just recline onto their back in really whatever shape feels comfortable to you? So you could come into a really traditional Shavasana shape. If you are interested in feeling kind of a little bit more open right now, you could extend the arms nice and wide and even have the legs be at a little bit more of an angle. So just opening up nice and wide. Or if your lower back is feeling a little sore, maybe a bend in the knees, feet a little wide on the mat, and the legs just resting in on each other in what we call constructive rest. And then as we begin, let's just start with 3 nice cleansing breaths just to connect to our practice. So take a full, gentle inhale through the nose. And then just do a nice audible sigh out the mouth. Do that 2 more times, a full, gentle inhale. And sigh and settle. And one more time. So just having a definite sense of arriving in your practice. And as we begin, see if you can have this sense of just overall softening around the ideas of just kindness, allowance, tolerance, really all really targeted at yourself. So see if you can resonate a little bit with these words: kindness, allowance, tolerance. And as you almost visualize your body as being a container just filled with kindness toward yourself, start to connect with just where you are right now. So start to take in any sensations about being in the physical space that you're in. So it could be sounds, temperature, maybe a little airflow. And again, as you start to sit and observe, have a sense that those observations are coming in toward this container of just kindness and allowance. And then from there, just connecting more inward in the body. So having a definite sense of the shape that your body is in right now. So just really connect with your body being in the shape that it's in. And as you go inside, almost having this gentle sense of just scanning the body. So just seeing what is here right now. Maybe noticing some areas of tightness, tension, areas that feel more open. Maybe an emotional tone that you might be feeling. Or even any thoughts. And again, all of these observations kind of happen within this container that's kind and that really just allows whatever is to be. And then from here, maybe visualizing the heart center of the body and starting to connect with some deeper breaths, not really full expansion of the breath, but again, just a nice, gentle inhalation. And as you inhale, have the sense that the heart center is just expanding, kind of this warm light, again, of kindness, allowance. So with each inhale, you kind of grow in warmth in these energies. And then with each exhale, visualize that energy just traveling out through the entire body, from to your fingertips, to your toes, to the top of your head. And then continue with that. So with each inhale, the heart center expands with light and warmth and kindness. And then with each exhale, that energy travels out through the entire body and then maybe even spills out evenly into the space around you. So just take a couple of more breaths. And then from here, you can blink the eyes open if they've been closed, but we're going to stay on our backs. And the first shape that we're going to take is called the banana asana shape. Very sophisticated name. So from here, what you're going to do is have your knees bent and your feet on the mat, and just lift your hips up and send them a little bit to the right. And then from here, extend the legs long, but start to walk them over toward the front left corner of your yoga mat if you're on one, or really just, you're just kind of walking them to the left a little bit. And then you can do the same thing in the upper body, is just kind of wiggle the upper body over in that same direction. So you're making this banana C shape in the body. And coming into your first yin shape.
Jane, are my hips supposed to stay both on the ground?
You know, as best as they can. So here, I'm going to talk right now about it. So in yin, right, what we want to do is we want to invite sensation into certain areas of the body. So what you're likely feeling right now is that sensation up the side of the body. So the IT band, the waist, maybe in the arms, if your arms are extended up over your head. They don't have to be. They can be down by your side, but you could also extend them up over your head. So you're nice and long. And really what you want to do is come to your kind of point of resistance in this shape. And what you want to make sure is just that the sensation that you're feeling is in a zone that you would describe as being mild to moderate. So you don't want to be in pain, and you really don't want to be beyond what you consider moderate sensation. So if that means you have to lift your hips a little bit up off the mat, that's fine. But you know, if they can stay on the mat and you can be in the shape, that's good too. So the nice thing about yin is that we work in what's called more functional alignment rather than aesthetic alignment. So it's really kind of what is happening in the body rather than exactly what do we look like in the shape. So finding that mild to moderate sensation in the side body. You can experiment with crossing the ankles, so maybe crossing the right ankle over the left, or even the left over the right, and seeing if that kind of adds to the sensation, and you don't go past moderate. And then once you get to the right shape for you, we all actually should look different in the shape. Everyone's kind of just listening to themselves, making their own decision with the general guidelines. And then once you get there, what you want to do is kind of soften in the areas where you feel that stretch, that tug, that resistance. So see if you can soften a little bit in those areas. And again, just kind of connecting with that sense of just kindness and allowance. So feel that good stress, that tug, that little ache in the side body. But what happens when you kind of put your attention on that area and just, again, you're kind, you allow, and you soften? And then from here, just bring yourself back into a straight reclined shape on your mat. So just coming back to the center. Again, your arms can stay extended overhead. They can be down by your side. But wherever you are, maybe do extend the arms up overhead and just do a nice stretch from side to side. So stretching right fingers, right toes in opposite directions, nice and long. And then doing that same stretch on the other side. And then when you're ready, again, bending the knees and then sending the hips a little bit to the left this time, extending the legs, walking the feet to the right, and then walking the upper body to the right. So coming into that C banana shape on the other side. So coming into the shape, maybe stopping just kind of naturally where your body stops. You should feel a good amount of resistance and sensation there. And then once you're there, can you soften in that kind of side leg, the side waist, soften in the arms if they're extended. And when we soften, what we're doing is we're letting the muscles take a back seat to the connective tissue, so that IT band, all sorts of fascia just running through the muscle, through the body. So shifting the stress, the good stress from the muscle into these other areas that we don't tend to get to as much in our more active forms of exercise. So this is good stress for kind of the other half of our body. And again, meet that sensation and notice what happens if you just are kind to it. You allow it, you soften, and even just soften in the landscape of the mind a little bit. So soften the eyes, the jaw, and even feel like there's a nice softening across the forehead. So really just being here now. And then coming back to that neutral center position again, nice and slow. And if you'd like, you could just hug the knees into your chest and just do a nice gentle roll on the lower back. As you roll around, do it really mindfully. Sometimes when we take these little movements, we just kind of throw ourselves into them, but almost have a sense that you're really almost as if you're rolling around on one of those hard little myofascial release balls, or a tennis ball. you're really kind of just working into areas that are happy to receive your attention. And then from here, we're going to make our way up to a seated position. And we're going to come into what's called butterfly pose. So in butterfly pose, you're simply going to bring the soles of your feet together and make this butterfly shape with your leg. And then I'm going to use a yoga block to support my forehead once I get down. You don't have to do that. Or if you have a pillow or something, you don't have to support your head. It's just an option. But whenever you're ready, you're really just going to simply round forward. So we're just rounding forward. And again, you're just going to stop at that point where you feel the resistance. If you don't have anything to support your head on, so I'm going to support my head on a block like this. If you don't, your options are really just to, let the head, let the spine just have its natural shape. Or if you don't have any issues going on in the neck and you'd like to stretch out that cervical spine a little bit, you could just let the head just get nice and heavy and let the weight of the head do a little bit of traction work there. So finding that shape that is right for you. We're all going to look different. And then once you get there, having that sense of softening. So in this shape, likely feeling it in the lower back. We're flexing the spine. We're externally rotating our hips, so you're going to feel it there. You might feel tugging on the inner leg line, maybe on the hamstrings. So wherever you feel it, just have that softening sense. So what we're really doing is just allowing the body. So we're allowing this shape and the time that we stay in it. We'll stay here for a couple of more minutes, actually. So it's the shape, the time, and really just gravity working on the body that really does all this nice work for us. Good work in the connective tissue, so our hip joints, our spine, compressing some organs. And again, really just resting in the shape. And kind of like we did at the beginning, maybe just observing anything that comes to your attention. So it could be aspects of the physical space that you're in, sound. It could be the physical sensations of the body. So what does that lower back feel like? Can you kind of feel that you are potentially just breaking up some nice blockage? Enhancing the flow of energy in the body. Or if you'd prefer not to do that kind of scanning of sensations, you could work with that visual that we did at the beginning. So working with your breath kind of focused at the heart center. Again, with the inhale, warm, glowing light, kind energy. And then in the exhale, it just travels throughout the entire body. Just a few more breaths here. And then when you're ready, just coming slowly back up. And you can actually put your feet on the mat, so tenting the legs again, and just leaning back on the hands a little bit, just for a moment. And bring your attention to the outer hips, to the lower back. And have this sense that you really just brought some really productive and good stress into those areas. And now those areas are just starting the process of repair, rebuilding to help with your mobility, your flexibility, your strength. So, do you feel maybe anything in those areas? A sense of flow, a sense of relief, maybe from being out of the stress? And then from here, you can do this nice windshield wiper movement with the legs. So just letting the legs go from side to side, but again, not just throwing yourself into the movement, but really being curious about what this movement feels like. And then from here, we're going to have a couple of options for our back bend. So the first one would be to come into Sphinx pose. And Bethany, if you want to do saddle, if you prefer saddle, as someone who comes to class very frequently, I know you know what that is. So the options here are Sphinx or saddle. So deciding on your own what works best for you. I'm going to suggest that everyone else take the Sphinx pose. So in Sphinx, your elbow is maybe just a little bit ahead of the shoulder. Forearms on the ground. And then the legs just extended behind you. So coming again into this extension of the spine, this back bend. So you're feeling it in the lower back. You could, if you do have yoga blocks, choose to rest the forehead on the blocks. Or if you have pillows or really anything else. Or again, if you'd like to have a little pull on the cervical spine, as long as you know that that's okay for your neck. But noticing that mild to moderate sensation in the back. And again, softening around it. I know I've done this pose 1,000 times, and every time I get into it, I'm like, oh yeah, relax your glutes. So usually once you do that, you're going to feel a little bit more sensation. And if that takes you beyond moderate, then feel free to engage the glutes. But just soften around the belly. Let the upper legs get nice and heavy. Have this sense that the front body is really drapey into the ground. And then again, just resting in the shape. Observing anything that presents itself. So really this practice gives you the option to get your mindfulness in today. Your mindfulness practice. So really just staying connected to really anything that presents itself right now. but having it come into this container that you've created that's kind, that allows, really all this changing phenomena is totally fine.
I'm just curious to know, what is saddle? Is that?
So saddle, Christine, is, I'm sorry, yeah, you would basically be sitting on your heels, and then you would go back onto the ground. And it does, actually, you don't have to go all the way down. The nice thing about saddle is it does give you a back bend, and it gives you some nice work in the hip flexors and in the quads at the same time. So when I take it, for instance, I would usually have a bolster behind me like this, and I would come into it and, you know, recline on the bolster. Can you see me?
Yes.
And so I find it a hard position if you don't have a bolster, and it's a challenging position anyway. It's pretty sensational. And
Gotcha. I was just gonna
every
say
aspect of that work.
a bit much more than I thought. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I probably should have given everyone the option to demonstrate it, but yeah. So just a couple of more breaths here. And again, noticing that sensation in that area of the lower back. I often have this sense that that area is kind of almost like this churning little tar pit. I can feel the heat. I almost sense the flow of energy. So in the concepts of traditional Chinese medicine, you're working in the kidney and urinary bladder meridians here, which are really foundational in that system. And it's believed that when you work in those areas, you help to promote balance in your entire body. So even if you're not familiar with traditional Chinese medicine, just kind of embrace these ideas and see if you can bring a sense of trust into these kind of long-standing traditions. And then from here, you can simply just come down flat on your mat. So just coming down all the way onto your belly and stacking your hands and just resting your forehead on your hands. And maybe just like you did at the beginning, just take a nice, gentle inhale, but exhale out the mouth. So just get nice and heavy. Just feel like you're really releasing into the earth and appreciating that the earth is just rising up to support you. And then from here, you're going to come up onto your hands and knees, so into the tabletop position. So in tabletop, our shoulders are over our wrists, our hips are over our knees, and just start a nice cat-cow flow. So inhale and make a U shape with the spine. Your gaze can go up. And then exhale, arch back. Engage your core and let the head just get nice and heavy. And then just continue that flow at your own pace. And again, just being curious about what it feels like. So not just doing it to do it, but doing it to just connect with the sensation and appreciating you're getting some nice movement in the spine. And then from here, come into stillness, and we're going to come into a couple of dragon shapes. So dragons are in yin yoga, they're really just lunges. Yin has different names for many of the same shapes that we do in other forms of yoga, but it's meant to just remind us that we're actually practicing these shapes in a different way. We're not engaging muscles around our bones and stacking joints, and we're doing a different practice. So in dragon, it's really just a lunge. So if you're on your hands and knees, take your right foot and just bring it to the inside of your right hand. And actually, never mind, you know what? Bring both hands to the inside and even heel toe that right foot out a little bit. I find this is just a little nicer so you feel a little bit more open in the front body. So coming into this dragon lunge, the way you can kind of play with sensation, so deciding if you want to be mild, if you want to be moderate, is really just to walk the back leg back. And here you're feeling that sensation most likely in the front hip, in the back leg, in the front of the back leg, and all the hip flexors, maybe the quad. And here you can stay up on your hands. If you can, go down. I usually use my yoga blocks and come down onto my forearms. Again, just find the shape that works for your own body. It doesn't have to look any particular way. You just kind of generally want to be in that shape and then just tinker with it in response to your own body. So softening in the hips, softening in that landscape of your mind. Almost imagine that there's a nice little sweep across your forehead. And maybe the eyes and the jaw. So just resting in the shape. You've made the shape and you've made it safe because you're not beyond moderate sensation. So now just rest and observe. And then from here, so you have an option to stay where you are. You also always have the option in any yoga class to come out of a shape. You could go into child's pose. You could. So always know that, you are definitely the boss in your own yoga practice in any class. But from here, we're going to go into, the option is to go into what's called overstepping dragon. And for that, what you're going to do is actually take the back foot and bring it back a little bit and then lean forward into that front leg. So your knee is now well past the front of your foot. And what I find in my body is it gets more sensation in that back hip flexor. So again, stressing these areas to promote a really healthy repair response that, again, has the potential to help keep those areas nice and healthy, to maintain and regain kind of health and mobility in the body.
Just curious to know if there's any alternate pose for dragon, or maybe you don't have to necessarily go so deep.
Yes, so here's the golden key to all, anything. If a shape is not good for you, think about what you would look like if you were doing it on your back. So in this shape, if that's not good for you, then you could think about, oh, I would be lying on my back and I really would just be hugging that right knee into my chest. So it's not the exact same thing, but it's pretty similar. And yeah, so good question.
Well, that was a good thing to think about, what it would look like on your back. That really is helpful for me.
Yeah, like if you think about it, even if, say, like you were doing a squat in a yoga class, which is hard for a lot of people, you really could just flip on your back and do happy baby pose, So yeah, that's like that works in so many ways. Yeah. So from there, sorry, probably not the dragon too long. Just come out of it. So coming back and extend that front leg nice and long. So you're kind of in this half split position. And even just flow a little bit. So come forward into a lunge shape and then extend back into this half split. So just lengthening out that front leg. And then send that front leg back and feel free to take any movement that you'd like. So if you'd like to come to down dog and maybe lift that leg and let that hip swing around, or, in tabletop, even doing circles. You're coming into child's pose, really anything that you would like before we take that shape on the other side. And then whenever you feel ready, we'll take the dragons on the other side. So starting in tabletop, and then the left foot comes forward, maybe a little bit outside, toward the outside edge of your yoga mat if you're using one, or simply just out on the outside side of both of your hands. So coming into your dragon. Really listening to your own body and thinking about how to take this shape for yourself. And then once you get there, meeting where you feel that sensation, like hello, and then just softening around it. So shifting from muscle into the joint capsule, the connective tissue. But remember, no pain. So no pain, no numbness, no tingling. Always change your shape if you're in pain. I just came out of a long training, and there was a key phrase that we used the entire week, and the phrase was, what would this moment be like if? And after that, you can really put in anything. So whenever you feel a sense of resistance, impatience, something that you're kind of just hitting up against that's a little scratchy and not so nice, you think of that sentence. What would this moment be like if? So if I enjoyed dragon, if I could stay here for an hour, but and see what that does in the mind. And then whenever you'd like, changing the shape, maybe coming into that overstepping dragon, so just dragging the foot back, and then leaning into the front leg again, so the knee is past the foot, so increasing the sensation in that back leg. My heel comes off the ground in this shape, so that's fine. for, you know, if you're finding that that's happening to you. Just a couple more breaths here. And then when you're ready, just coming out of the shape again, nice and slow. And again, starting by just extending the front leg, so this half split, maybe going back and forth. Bringing a little movement into the areas that we were just stressing. And then if you'd like, just stepping the foot back. And again, coming into downward facing dog, maybe rotating that hip. And then whenever you would like, come back down to the hands and knees and just shift back into a child's pose. So really any variation of child's pose you like. Your toes could be touching, your knees could be wide. Or you could have the legs closer together, arms draped down by the side. And then again, once you get there, maybe a nice full gentle inhale. And just sigh out the mouth. Softening in the mind, in the eyes, in the jaw. Nice and heavy in the hips. And again, just having that sense of release into the earth. And the earth rising up to support you. And maybe that's connecting with that sense of openness all above you. So the earth below you, the heavens above you. And then whenever you're ready, just slowly walk your hands back up. And we're going to come onto our back and we'll come into a figure 4 shape. Or actually, you know what? We're going to come into a different shape than that. But we're going to start, it's going to start looking like a figure 4 shape. So come down onto your back and maybe tuck the shoulder blades underneath a little bit so you have a nice opening in the front body. And take your right ankle, cross it over the left thigh, so just below the knee there. And then maybe have the hands come out in a T shape just for some nice balance. And what you're going to do is simply let the legs fall to the right. And if you may want to, if it's too much sensation, you could put like a pillow or a blanket to land on. Or you could just let the legs float. Straightening the lower leg might help to reduce sensation if anyone needs to do that. And again, just getting a nice stretch along the side body. Stretching out the quads and the IT band. So just resting, observing, and allowing. And then from here, just slowly having the legs come back up and unhook that ankle and then just hug the knees into the chest. And again, just gently roll on the lower back. And then we're going to come into a reclined twist on the other side. So options here are to keep the legs side by side like this, or maybe cross the right leg over the left. So either leg position, and you'll be able to even change it once you get down just to see what it's like. But from here, roll all the way onto your left side as if you're going to take a nap. And then when you're ready, just open up the upper body into the twist. So just taking that right hand and twisting and rotating the spine as much as feels appropriate to you. Maybe gazing in that opposite direction. And see if you can really connect with letting the upper body get heavy in one direction and then letting the lower body get heavy in the other direction. So really releasing, letting gravity and the shape do the work in your body. Just embodying your kind and tolerant and accepting you. Just a few more breaths here. And then to come out of this shape, one thing that's really nice to do is to now just, again, roll all the way back onto that right side. And then you can come back onto the back. And feel free to take any movement that would feel good before we do those two poses on the other side. So it could be a windshield wiper of the legs. It could be hugging the knees into the chest. And then when you're ready, the feet come down to the mat. And this time the left ankle crosses over the right thigh, and arms come out for balance in a T shape. And then just slowly let the legs fall to the left. So again, in yin, there's a very direct link of this practice to the concept of traditional Chinese medicine. So working in the same meridian lines that you would be working in if you were having acupuncture. So here you're working in the side body, and that is associated with your liver and your gallbladder meridians. And working in those meridians is supposed to enhance a really easygoing environment in the body. So just connect with that idea that being in this shape and just resting and allowing, you're just supporting the flow of energy in the body that's going to help things just be more easeful mentally, physically. And then when you're ready, coming slowly out of this shape. And then hugging the knees into the chest and rolling onto the right side. And again, choosing maybe to keep the legs side by side so they stack in your reclined twist, or maybe crossing the left leg over the right for a little bit more sensation. Coming all the way to the right side and then opening up through the top body. So extending that left arm back. If that's too much, the left arm could really just rest on the side body, or it can really just be wherever. Yeah. As we come toward the end of practice, and as you rest in this shape, really appreciating that you've taken the time for yourself. So it's this kind act toward yourself to just promote balance and promote really nice energy flow in the body. And then just slowly coming out of this shape. So rolling all the way to the side again. And then when you're ready, coming onto your back, and we are coming into just our final Shavasana shape. So if there's anything you'd like to do beforehand, like a happy baby, grabbing the bottoms of the feet, this upside down squat position, or hugging the knees into the chest and rolling around. Again, just listening to what your body is asking of you. And then whenever you're ready, just extending out into Shavasana. So legs long, maybe a gentle V shape, feet heavy. Your arms just out to the side, palms facing up if you want to feel more receptive, palms down if you'd like to feel a little bit more grounded. And as we arrive in Shavasana, just take a couple of those breaths where you inhale, feeling as if at the heart center, there's a warm, glowing energy that expands. And as you exhale, that energy just travels throughout the entire body, fingertips, toes, the crown of your head. And even just gently travels out of the body, filling the space around you. Do that one more time. And then after you've done that, just really releasing any effort, any energy in the body. Nothing to do, nowhere to go as you just rest in your final shape for a couple of minutes. So just begin to bring some gentle movement into the body. Maybe just roll the head from side to side, wiggle fingers, toes. Since you're in your own home, if you would like to stay in Shavasana, totally feel free. You could even do that if we were in the studio. But whenever you're ready, just roll onto one side and just pause there. And as you're there, just have a definite connection with the sense of trust that this practice has brought you something good. So you've made the kind choice to attend to yourself. And in doing that, something good will come out of it. And then just let's all meet in a seated position. You could just be seated with legs crossed. And from here, just have a sense, feel those sitting bones really connecting you with the earth. And then imagine that your spine is just this beautiful tall tree that rises up, is gently drawn up to the sky at the crown. And feel nice and open in the heart center. So maybe even puff the chest out just a little bit. So have this dignified posture, but soften within it. So just be dignified but easeful. And then we'll just end practice with a nice breath together. As we inhale, we'll sweep our arms up overhead, palms together, and then just drawing them down our midline and bowing our heads in gratitude for this day and for the practice that we shared. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.